Anyway, Jim said it very adequately that this is probably the most important election that I've been involved in since about 1960. And I, of course, was in Florida at that time, but that was the race when conservatism was introduced to the South. And that's when the South made a big switch from being such a big Democrat area to a Republican area. And it was all based upon one of my favorite politicians of all time, Barry Goldwater. I was a Goldwater girl. And I often say that had it not been for Barry Goldwater, we would not have had a Ronald Reagan. And since we had Ronald Reagan, I'll tell you what, we've been going downhill just about all the way. Of course, George Bush, the second George Bush, the first George Bush, I thought were very adequate presidents. But we are involved in one of the biggest battles, and it is truly a battle. And it's not a recreation room out here in the political world. You've heard me say before that politics is very personal. It is very personal, like your spiritual life sometimes you consider very personal too. But it should not be private. You should let everybody that you talk to, all your neighbors and everyone you come in contact with about your political persuasion as you should with your spiritual persuasion. One nation under God. That's what it's all about. And I've been talking this year, and I got to thinking that the speech that Abe Lincoln gave back in 1863, and I got to think about 1963 when we were giving speeches, that, you know, all those many years ago, both Abraham Lincoln and Barry Goldwater were talking about a divided United States. And we are still as divided today as we were in 1863, as we were in 1963. And we have a deep division about what I consider systemic challenges. I tell everybody, I want better schools, I want better roads, I want more jobs, I want to pay less taxes. That's not the debate. The debate is, by what method are we going to get those things that we want, that we think we need? And I think we're at the critical stage of our country that we're going to have to really hone in and figure out what we really do need and quit being on this spending jack that we've been on all these years. Because I think that as far as the nation goes, and even as far as the state goes, and maybe as far as the local area goes, because this is where it starts. It starts right here in the local community. It doesn't start in Washington, it doesn't start in Raleigh. It starts right in Macon County, Jackson County, Swain County, and all the counties west of Buncombe is the way I look at it. So we are involved in a real big battle about a couple of things that I consider very, very important that we must preserve. And one of those, of course, is our historical foundation upon which this land was built. They didn't cross the ocean and come over here for a picnic. They came over here and they were pioneers. They came in to settle the land, and they were looking for, if I remember my history correctly, religious freedom. And we're involved in that same battle today. And they knew that they had to have one thing that no one throughout the world had ever experienced. And that one thing was freedom. So guess what? The next thing in line is freedom. And have you ever noticed the correlation between your taxes and freedom? Taxes go up, but your freedoms don't. They go down. They raise them. And every time they raise them, I don't care what the amount is, they raise them just by a nickel, you're going to lose some part of your freedom. And I was absolutely astonished. It was last week. I'm an absolute political junkie. I'm a news junkie. I watch everybody. I have to hear everything Obama says because that way I've heard it originally and I don't have to take your word for it or your word for it. I listen to it. Because I want to know where he stands so I know where the battle lines are. because that's where our battle lines are, and it also is right here in this county, and in my county. I now live over in Swain County, and in the state. So you're looking at, they want to control you. And the best way to control you is, guess what? To control your money. And if you think that doesn't work, you just look at some of the dictators in this world that control the money, and they definitely control the people. I was in South Florida when the exodus of the Cuban people came into South Florida, and I have a lot of friends that can give you the testimony of the damage that is done by dictators, communism, and somebody wanting to redistribute wealth. I just praise the Lord we do have some of the wealthy men in the nation that are creating jobs. That's where they come from. They don't come from taking money from the extreme wealthy or the partially wealthy, and then we get into deciding what really constitutes wealth. And I don't think you can measure wealth by money. I don't have 2 nickels to rub together this month, but I'm probably one of the richest people in western North Carolina, because I think I know what side of the story I stand on. And I stand on the right side. It's not a matter of Democrat, Republican anymore. It's a simple matter of right and wrong. So, if you think that any government, whether it be local, state, or federal, can handle your money better than you can, then I suggest you continue to vote for Phil Hare and Barack Obama and Jon Snow, because that's where it all is. Governing you or controlling you through your pocketbook and your religion, your spiritual life. I don't like to say religion anymore because that's such a broad term. So, I hope every one of you are prepared today to go out and talk to everybody that you see and tell them exactly what's on your mind about this upcoming election. There is nothing more important. We have trivialized our election process anymore. We give everybody the privilege to register when they drive up to get their driver's license. We early vote. We do everything to make it comfortable. We need to recognize Election Day is truly a day that we need to honor throughout our nation by closing our businesses, making that one day very important, and vote. We still have that freedom. But as far as I can see, folks, it may be coming down the pike, we might not have it. So, my advice to you, if you want to take it, is to go out, talk to those people, tell them exactly what's on your mind, tell them exactly what you think is important, and then have them spread the word too. This is my second try at trying to bring Phil Hare back to Jackson County. Not that we want him in Jackson County so bad, but you don't want it over here. But anyway, no, Phil can be an okay guy, I think, on occasions. I've worked with him with some things in real estate and other things. And he can, and he's got a delightfully charming wife, Connie, and I know both of them. But, you know, when a politician stays in office too long, guess what? They forget the purpose, and they forget the people that are paying their salaries, and that's you and me. So I hope you'll help me retire Phil Hare, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you. And I probably talked too long, but there, it's my pleasure. I'm Dodie Allen, and I'm used to it. Thank you so much.
Give it a mic. Dodie never talks too long. Well said, Dodie.